you, I've seen a lot of familiar faces. But just a quick background, what I do in my profession is called psychometry. I've been practicing psychometry for about 40 years now. And it seems to be the ability to hold something that someone wears or carries and see pictures. So I rely totally on seeing pictures. I've never considered myself a medium. That was something over there for mediums to do. I just see pictures when people come for readings. However, in June of 2000, my father died. He had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. He really suffered with it for about 6 years. And on the morning, early morning of June 25th, I was sound asleep. And I woke up with a start. And as I woke up, I was saying, "Dad!" And at the foot of my bed was a misty form. And it had kind of a greenish hue to it. And I looked at the clock, and it was 10 minutes after 2 in the morning. So I laid back down, and I waited for the phone call. And about 20 minutes later, my mother called and said, your father's passed. And it was at 10 after 2. So that kind of began something with my father and I. Shortly after his memorial, I began having dreams about it. And in the dreams, it was every night, he was showing me his recovery on the other side. So when the first dream, he was lying in like a hospital bed, and there were these beautiful attendants. But he was sitting up and chatting, which was a breakthrough because the last time I saw him, he was frozen, as Parkinson's will do. And the following night, he was up with the help of others walking. And then another dream, he was holding onto the bars, teaching him to walk again. And that took probably about a week of showing me that. And then I had this dream that he looked like he was about 25 years old. Dad was a pilot when he was a young man. He was actually the youngest pilot in the state of Oregon at the age of 15. And he showed me this airfield. And in the airfield was every kind of plane that he had ever loved. And he was standing in front of an old biplane. Another dream came a few nights later, and he wanted to show me. He said, "I'm so excited, you've got to see. You've just got to come with me." And so I followed him, and we were walking down a cobblestone pathway that looked like Disneyland. And he went into a door, and at the door was a turnstile. And a man was standing at the turnstile, sort of guarding it. And my father showed him his pass. It was kind of a rectangular shape, looked like it was maybe made of wood. As he showed him the pass, I could see it was the number 8. And so I went to scoot in behind him, and the guard said, "No, where's your pass? You can't go in." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have one." And Dad's like, "Just lean over." So I looked, and it was a toy museum. And if you know my dad, that would fit. He was a kid. And so every toy that you can imagine is in this museum. And I'm like, wow. So we lingered there for a bit. I was watching him, showing me all these things. When I woke up from that dream, I really focused on his pass and the number 8. And when I laid it sideways, it was not an 8, it was a symbol of infinity. Oh, God. So we had a lot of excursions. I got busted in one of his dreams for being there. We were on a beach, and there were 3 suns in the sky, and whoever the people were down below saw me and said, "She can't be here. What is she doing here? She can't be here." He says, "Come on, let's go." So he was really showing me, I believe, his experience on the other side. Shortly after that, I had a client come in, and she had lost her brother. And she asked me if I see people that have crossed. And I said, no, well, no, not really, thinking about what I just experienced with my father. And she said, well, I was hoping you could see him. And all of a sudden, I began to see. Now, I know there's probably other psychics in the room, and when you say you're seeing something, you're not seeing it like we're seeing right now. We're seeing almost in a dreamlike way. That I began to see what I believe was her brother. And I said, wait a minute, let's play. Let's just play with this a little bit. This could be just my imagination, but I think I got him. And she said, okay, well, we made a promise that if one left before the other, that we would come through with our favorite song, and that we shared. And she said, we grew up in Southern Oregon, and we spent a lot of time outdoors, and I began to hear dum da da dum da da dum da da dum da da. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to say that. And it just kept coming, and I'm like, ugh. So finally I said, was it Bonanza? Mm-hmm. And she goes, yes! I said, that was Bonanza. And so that sort of started me into playing with that part of my imagination and allowing for the possibility that it was more than just my imagination. What a great experience that was. I've made notes because I don't want to leave anything out today. I've got a lot of information I want to share. So shortly after that, I had a client come in who had lost her son, her young adult son, in a car accident. And he had, that's all she told me. And I said, oh gosh, she did say it wasn't convertible. She did tell me that. His father's convertible. And I said, oh gosh, I did kind of get someone here, but it's the strangest thing. He wants you to know he somersaulted into heaven. And she started crying. He had come off of an exit, freeway exit, hit a dump truck, rolled the car, and rolled out. It was a sloping exit. He rolled out and kind of somersaulted. And that struck me as a little irreverent, but I began to kind of go with what some of these images were telling me, and the possibility that maybe life is really just a continuum. Maybe we just pick up where we left off. And that was the first clue I had to that possibility, was with him. And so shortly after that, and this was a series of things that happened, over a couple of years, but a woman came to me who had lost her family in an airplane crash. And all I knew was, that her whole family had died. And I said, okay, let me see here what comes. And I saw what I assumed was her son. And he said, tell Mom the boat rescued us. And then I saw this picture of the family kind of getting out of an airplane and into a boat. Well, the plane had crashed in water. And when I said a boat had rescued them, she said that makes perfect sense. Then something occurred that, they say as above, so below, and I really believe that. Her son told me, she says, well, where are they? And her son said, tell her we're at the lodge on such and such a lake. And so I conveyed that to her. And she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, that's where I live, in a lodge on that lake. Does that mean they're there? And he said, no, but tell her that what we build here, we build there. And that there is a sort of a parallel world. And it's just there. So I believe that gave her a great deal of peace. Quantum physics is now telling us about parallel universes. So another instant where the whole idea that life is a continuum, a young woman came to me who had lost her fiance. And I said, okay, well, let me see what I get. And I could see this man kind of on a hillside, big open field, and he had the foundation of a house built, and he was wearing a tool belt. And I said, was he a builder? She said, not at all, he was in finance. And I go, oh. And so these are hard things when you're seeing, because it's like, okay, I guess I'm going down the wrong path. But I learned to stay with it and let it unfold. And so I said, I don't know, he's insisting that he's in this field with, she goes, wait a minute, what does the property look like? And so I started describing it to her. It was this sloping field, but on three sides it was bordered with woods, like BLM property or something. And she started crying, and she said, we had just bought that property before he died to build her dream house. And I said, what's that? I think he's building your dream house. So I do believe from the things I've seen in those ways that really the things we hope and cherish and dream of, our wishes, our desires, are actually met over there. And that we get to truly continue on with those. A really kind of cute one, a woman came and she lost her dog. She said, my dog has died recently. And I want to know, do animals go to heaven? And I said, well, let's see, what was the dog's name? And she told me, and I got this picture of a dog running out of the ocean, and he was shaking. He looked like a yellow lab or golden retriever. He was shaking, and as he shook, the water looked like diamonds. And I said, does this mean anything? And she's crying, and she said, he drowned in Hawaii. Wow. And so he ran out of the water in heaven. We just kept going. And one of the things that I've been shown over and over is something about the water over there is really significant. A lot of people tell me they're by the river, or they're by the lake, or they're by the ocean. But the water itself seems to have a real healing property. And one gal had actually showed up in a fountain in the square of like a village or something, and I go, oh gosh, she's sort of stepping out of this fountain. And as she spoke to me, she said, this healed me. She had been killed in an accident or something, and somehow that water had done a healing for her. So it's something very special over there. So as I began to be open to the possibilities, of course, more began to come, and more began to come. And I worked on a case some years back. Two women were missing on Larch Mountain, and they had gone up hiking in the fall, I believe. But it was a warm day, and so they weren't prepared for cold weather. They were just in their hiking clothes. And it started to snow, and there was a total whiteout, and they got lost. And they were lost for 3 days. The family came to me, and I said, gee, I see them huddled together in a line shack. And so, of course, the family went to the police, and the police got back and said, there's no line shacks up there. And so but that's what I kept seeing. And finally, the sheriff called me, and he says, I want you to quit telling these people that these women are alive in the line shack. All the line shacks have been taken down. There's no. Well, I had been working with search and rescue, and they said, you know what, if you see a line shack up, we're going back up, because the county called up the search. And so search and rescue went back up, and as they were going up, they heard the 304 helicopter from the guard up at the airbase go overhead. And what ultimately happened was the women were discovered, they were found in a line shack. They had gone out in the snow and sort of carved out the words help, and then put twigs or branches or something in it so it could be seen from the air. But in the process, they'd gotten really wet, and it was really cold. And that night, they were huddled and sure that they weren't going to live. So at some point in the night, the one gal woke up because she felt heat, and she looked, and in the corner of the line shack appeared an old potbelly wood stove. And she's like, okay, that's not supposed to be there. But the other gal woke up and got up and started walking towards it. And she jumped up and grabbed her friend and pulled her back. And she told me later, she said, I believe if she had made it to the wood stove, she would have died. And so my thought was, oh my goodness, you know, heaven had come to greet her, had come to take her and escort them home by appearing as a potbelly wood stove. We hear a lot from people who are getting ready to cross that they see family members that have already passed, or they have their own experience of something. Dear friend of mine just died about a month ago, and his wife was with him at the time, and he had asked to be unplugged. He was having multiple heart attacks. He said, just stop, it's time for me to go. And so they unplugged him, and at one point, his last words to her were, oh my God, a cathedral. He goes, no, it's a tabernacle, a golden tabernacle. And he died. So that world superimposes itself, I'm convinced, to help us go home. One of the topics that seem to come up a lot in my work is suicide. I have clients that come to me who have had people that have died by their own hand. Now, one of the other things that I've noticed is humor must be part of heaven, because when they talk to me, a lot of times they're very humorous. And so I had this one gal come, and her brother had killed himself. Well, I didn't know he killed himself. She just gave me his name and birthday, and I saw him, and he was sitting very casually on an old stone fence, like you might see in Ireland or Scotland or something. And he was kind of sitting there cross-legged. His name was Anthony, and I said, how did you die? And he goes, well, it was an accident. And I looked at him and I went, yes, I think it was an accident. So I said to his sister, was it an accident? And she goes, oh no, he killed himself. And he goes, like he's busted. And I said, you know, how did that go for you? Because he was already in that sort of humorous wit. I thought I could kind of give it back to him. So I said, well, so how did that go for you? You killed yourself. And he goes, well, here's the deal. Wherever you go, there you are. And I'm like, okay. And that's another thing that they've shown me over and over is there is a recovery process. It isn't like you have instant wings or whatever. You know, there's a process over there. And he was he was very funny, but he was also very informative. And what he told me was, even though he'd taken his own life, he had to, he had to work with that. He had to